It's been 16 years and the question still remains, did he make himself disappear or did someone else do it for him? Hello, true crimerers. This is the case of Lee Cutler. Viewer discretion is advised. Lee Cutler was born on October 2nd, 1989, and he lived pretty much all his life in Buffalo Grove, Illinois. His parents, by the time this story happens, were separated, and he was living with his mom and also his mom's husband, so his stepdad. Lee had an older brother and also a step-sibling. Growing up, Lee was described as always being like a social butterfly. He was just friends with everyone. He was always a very confident individual. He is the type of person who will use his outgoing and goofy personality to try to make someone laugh, especially if he saw that they were just in a bad mood or they were having a bad day. He would try to do something to lighten up the mood a little bit, try to make them feel better. And while he did that for others, he really didn't allow it for people to do that with him. Typically, if something was wrong, if something was bothering him, if there was an issue, he would try to keep it to himself. He didn't really open up a ton. Lee was also extremely proud of his Jewish faith. In, I think it was either junior high or high school, he actually started a Jewish youth group at school. And he was just someone who always celebrated his faith. And I think at one point he said he wanted to, move to Israel. Lee attended Stevenson High School, and apparently in 2006, about a year or so before this case happens, he was battling what people thought was depression or some sort of mental health issues, and he reportedly brought a knife to school and basically said he was going to end his life. Obviously, they would stop him. That didn't happen, and no one really knows exactly how serious he even was about it. But from that point moving forward, he was put to see a psychiatrist, and he was medicated. A year later, he's now a senior at Stevenson High School, and everything seems to be significantly better. He seems to be in much better spirits. There's no more talk about ending his life, and everyone says he seems totally happy and content. He told his mom that, you know what, I might want to move to Israel and join the Israel Defense Forces. And his mom was like, no, I don't think you should do that. But it definitely seems like moving to Israel was something he would rather do. He was really not sure about, he was going to graduate high school and he was going to do so with good grades, but he wasn't really set on education after that. He didn't really seem to be all that involved in trying to go to college afterwards. And there are people who think that, his parents were probably expecting him to go to college and further his education, but there are people who think that he didn't want to maybe tell them that that's not what he wanted to do, and he'd rather do something else. And so perhaps that would be a reason why what happens soon afterwards happens. We'll get to that shortly. While in his senior year at high school, he had just started, because this was now in October of 2007, and Lee was working at the Hawthorne Center Mall in Vernon Hills, Illinois, and I guess he worked specifically at a store called Rock America. It was Saturday, October 20th, 2007. Lee was expected to work that evening at Rock America at the mall, but he didn't show up for work. The night prior, Lee was at a birthday party for a friend who just turned 18, and Lee himself had just turned 18 just a couple of weeks before this. And so that was a Friday night, and basically Lee was then expected to show up for work later in the evening, but then his work would call, I guess, his mom and say, he isn't here. His work was like, well, maybe he thought he was supposed to work at a different time, so we'll call back later if he doesn't show up. And so he didn't show up. Lee's mom, Beth, is trying to get a hold of Lee. She's calling his cell phone. She is doing anything she can to find out where he is, but he's not responding to her. And after some time, the phone calls just went straight to voicemail. And she also would text him, but he didn't respond back to those either. Lee missing work was something extremely unusual. Lee never, ever missed work. And especially he would call if he was going to be late or not show up. His work said he didn't call or anything. He didn't reach out to anyone. So his mom was like, something is definitely wrong. So that same night, when they realize they can't get a hold of him, they don't know where he is, and none of his friends have seen him because they reached out to all of them, they reported him missing. So police would come to the house. They would search through Lee's bedroom. There was nothing to indicate anything. Nothing was missing other than he had packed a backpack the night before because he knew he was spending the night at a friend's house with like a change of clothes and not much else. His mom said everything else was there. All of his clothes were there. Everything. He didn't bring anything else with him. And they didn't notice there was no notes written or anything. Nothing to indicate that he planned to like run away. There was no sign of a struggle or anything like that. Police would question the friends he had stayed with the night before. They said Lee was in a really great mood. He seemed his normal self. He said we were playing video games until the early hours of the morning, and then Lee went to bed when we all went to bed. Lee actually, they woke up kind of, around 9 or so. And so one of the friends said, yeah, that Lee had dropped me off at my house, and this was right around 9:50 in the morning. And then I saw him leave, and in the car ride, he was fine. He was his normal self. And then after that, nobody who knew Lee directly ever saw or heard from him again. Police would look into his cell phone usage, and they discovered that the very last time he used his phone was approximately at 12:25 a.m. that morning. So his friends and his family, first, they all drove around the entire Buffalo Grove area. They drove around the mall. They walked literally every store of the mall. They would drive to all of the places they knew Lee would tend to go to a lot, like places he enjoyed going to. They couldn't find him at any of those places, and no one who worked at any of those places said, yeah, he was here. No one had seen him. While going around the area, police actually would go to a gas station, and the people at this gas station said they definitely recall seeing Lee Cutler there, and this was at right around 10 o'clock in the morning. Again, he seemed normal. He didn't give off any signs that he was in trouble or anything along those lines. And so now this 10 a.m. sighting of him at the gas station, which is approximately just 10 minutes after he dropped his friend off at home, this now is the last time that anyone would ever see him ever again. To police, based on all of the interviews of people stating that, nothing seemed out of the ordinary with him, Lee didn't have any enemies. There wasn't anyone who hated him. There wasn't any bullies picking on him at school. There was no animosity with any of his coworkers, and the fact that he seemed like his normal self. Police are kind of like, well, he did just turn 18 a couple of weeks ago. He is technically an adult. He does have his own car. The car hasn't been found at this point. We have to kind of think that Lee just decided to leave on his own, and that's it. But then the following night, the night after he disappeared, so this is like the late Sunday night, Lee's car is found. His Toyota Corolla is actually found in Wisconsin, and it's at a rest stop in Fairfield Township. So police, there was just a police officer near the rest stop who had noticed this car had been there for a while. So the officer ran the plates, and then the plates came back with a note, basically, this is the vehicle of a missing person. So the police there in Wisconsin reach out to the police in the Buffalo Grove, Illinois area. They talk amongst themselves, and so this officer decides to kind of sit back and watch the car to see if Lee comes back to it, or if anyone comes to it. But nobody does. Lee doesn't, and no one else does. Now, this, I guess, was near the Baraboo River area in Wisconsin. Apparently, it's near an area where people would camp, and so they thought, oh, maybe he's camping out there somewhere. Maybe he got a wild hair and just decided to go camping. It is an area where he had gone with friends before to camp and hike. But, when they kind of searched that general area around the car, they just didn't find any signs of him. They looked in the car. They found some clothing items. They also found a receipt. And I guess this was for the Kettle Moraine State Forest. The receipt was time-stamped around 1:30 p.m. on the Saturday that he disappeared. This was before anyone really knew he was missing. That particular state forest is about 70 miles away from where he lived. But he obviously wasn't there very long because his vehicle was found about a day later, and this is about 90 miles away from that area. So now at this point, the Wisconsin police and I guess firefighters as well, they then decide to do a much larger search of the area next to where his car was found. His family gets there at that point. And so they branch out and they're in this they're near this embankment on the Baraboo River. And they do come across a blanket and a backpack. And so the parents confirm that is Lee's blanket and that is Lee's backpack. Absolutely, for sure. But Lee is nowhere to be found. Now they're thinking maybe Lee is injured somewhere. Maybe he went out here to go hiking or camping and he hurt himself. So not only are they searching on foot, but they also are using helicopters and planes above with heat sensors to see if they can pick up anything. And they don't find any trace of him himself. So from that location, his mom, Beth, she goes on the news and she's basically pleading for help. She's asking if anyone knows where Lee is to please reach out to them immediately. She also reaches out to Lee in case he's done this himself and begging for him to come home or call home or anything. She does tell police that Lee has been under some stress because he had been thinking about moving to Israel and joining the Israeli forces. And she was like, that's not a good idea. And, friends would tell police that Lee was stressing about, telling his mom and his parents, like, I don't really know if I want to go to college. I don't know if that's for me. And so they felt maybe, there was a possibility. Maybe he kind of just ran away from all of that. But what if, in doing so, he went somewhere and injured himself, or worse, on accident? In the backpack, as they're searching, they find an empty bottle of Advil PM and an empty bottle of Coricidin, which I guess is like a cold medicine. They also found a note, seemingly written by Lee. And the note said, quote, "My head is too big for my shoulders. Finally, I'll be able to sleep. I know I'm not crazy. I love you, Mom. Please be happy." Unquote. Sort of seemed, kind of, like it may have been a suicide note, but they weren't sure. There were no indications at this makeshift campsite of foul play. There was no blood, no signs of a struggle. There weren't a large amount of food. There was only basically his potential shoe impressions, but nobody else's. There was no weapons found, no hair pulled out, nothing. Just a blanket, a backpack, his shoe impressions, a couple empty bottles of medicines, but no sign of Lee. Still, nothing. No indications of where he is. So now they search the Baraboo River. They do a very, very extensive search of this river. They bring in the best people and a lot of people, and they comb this river as thoroughly as you could possibly do so. And they're using sonar equipment, everything. No traces of Lee. Nothing. No clothing items found in the river. No bodies. Nothing. And they also said that there apparently was, I guess, debris that would have said there was no possible way that Lee, if he was in the river, could have gone anywhere else, that he would have been found in that river if he was in it. Again, nothing. And then almost a week after he disappeared, there were still people searching the banks of the Baraboo River, and they found a pair of pants, and they were just like, I guess, lying on top of a broken down tree or a branch or something. And in the pants was a wallet. The wallet was Lee's. It had his ID in it and everything. The pants were dry. They weren't like recently in the water. So they again search the river. I mean, they're like, okay, he's got to be in here, because his clothing item is found right next to it. And again, they do another extremely thorough search. At one point, his parents bring in like this a secondary team who specializes in searching, bodies of water. They confirm what the police's findings. That they said, listen, we have searched, they have searched. There is no way that if he was in this river, there's no way we would not have found him. He would have been found if he was in it. And they didn't find him at all. His pants didn't have like blood on it, anything like that. So again, they're just at a loss. Because he wasn't in the river, and not only did they thoroughly search the river, they searched like the entire area. I mean, for miles around this campsite where he was, miles around the river. They bring in a bunch of volunteers to search on foot, the family searching on foot. They have the independent team searching on foot. They have the helicopters, the airplanes, the sonars, the heat sensors to find signs of life. Nothing. There is still no Lee Cutler found. He is just gone. Not in the river. He's not within miles and miles of the Baraboo River and the campsite his stuff was found at. He's just gone. One witness would then come forward to state that the location where his Toyota Corolla was found, a witness was driving by one time and they saw the Corolla, and then there was another brown vehicle parked in front of it. And they didn't really get a good look at whoever was driving that car, but they did see Lee. And Lee appeared to be talking on a cell phone. I guess the person described the car as a brown Pontiac Bonneville, but the person who witnessed this just sort of drove by without really thinking much of it. They just recalled it once they heard about the news of this missing person, and then when the car was found, there was no signs of a struggle by his car either, right? There's no blood found. There's no signs of struggle in his car. This is just a super bizarre thing. So who was this person that may have met with Lee, and what happened after that? Why was Lee's belongings found at a campsite away from his car? Police could not say for certain if Lee had committed suicide. They just couldn't. They had no proof of it. They didn't know how many pills were in that Advil PM bottle when he, at first. And it's not something you can commonly OD on. Neither is the cough medicine. But even if he ended his life there, his body would have been found. Like, if his body would have been in the river, his body would have been found somewhere in those surrounding woods. I mean, they did an extremely thorough search. Nothing. So they had no proof that he ended his own life. They had no proof that there was foul play. They had nothing to say that someone made him disappear, that someone took him or kidnapped him or someone murdered him. It's possible he ended his own life elsewhere. It's possible someone did take him and kill him. Maybe he meant to run away and a random person came across him and said, oh, here's a helpless looking person. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kidnap him. I'm going to do whatever. They don't know. He could have also vanished on his own. He could have made it appear as if he was going to end his life by planting that note, planting the pair of pants right next to the river. He could have wanted people to think he was dead, and maybe he just decided to pick up and leave. But the fact of the matter is I'm making this video in 2023. It's been 16 years now since he disappeared. And I've been looking. There has been no sightings of Lee anywhere ever again. Anywhere. No one has come forward with tips or information that they've spotted him somewhere else in the country. I have to imagine they've reached out to the authorities in Israel. I just have to think they have, because he had said about wanting to go there. And if they have, I don't know if they've got information about if anyone has spotted him there or not. He's just gone. Lee is just gone. You'd have to think that with his, picture being out there, and Lee kind of has a distinctive look, right? I mean, I can't really pinpoint it, but there's just something, I guess, distinct or unique about his appearance, that he could be very easily recognizable. And his image was out there all over the place. And no sightings of him. That's just super weird. Especially for 16 years. 16 years and not one person has seen him. But maybe his story kind of just sort of fizzled out and no one knows to be looking for him. So, you never know. Maybe someone sees this video or sees a local article about him, because they've written articles, over the years. Maybe, you never know. Maybe someone will recognize him. Somewhere, someone out there knows what happened to Lee Cutler. I mean, that's just the truth. Either someone who did something to him knows what happened to him, or Lee is out there somewhere and he obviously knows what happened. So if anyone out there recognizes Lee Cutler, or if anyone knows about what happened to him or his current whereabouts, please contact the Buffalo Grove, Illinois Police Department, and you can do so at 847-459-2560. Anything can help. This family just wants to know where he is. His friends want to know where he is. They want to know if he's okay. Lee Cutler, if by some incredibly rare and random chance you see this video, you're not in any kind of trouble. They've closed this case and just said he is just a runaway, or you're a runaway if you see this. Your family just wants to know you're okay. They want to know you're safe. Or if anyone sees this and knows his whereabouts, they just want to know their loved one is safe and he is okay. So please, you can reach out to them anonymously. You don't have to say who you are, and just call them and give them the information. Please. Lee Cutler is, or was, depending, a son, a brother, a grandson, a friend, who affected many, many, many people in a positive way. And it's only fair and it's only right that all of those people get to know what happened to Lee Cutler on that October 20th, 2007 day. But that is the end of this story, True Crime, a Rooney Dooney Dingleberry Dongs. You know it. You know it. If you have tripped, fallen, and stumbled your way into this video, hi, I'm Mike. I tell true crime stories here and over on TikTok. So please subscribe to me here, give this video a like, and if you want to see shorter form true crime cases, you can also follow me over on TikTok. The link is in the link tree in my description of this video below, or you can search Making a True Crimerer, the same name as this YouTube page. I've got almost 3 million followers over there. I'm really close to 3 million, so yikes. I said I would get a tattoo once I hit 3 million, so no rush. No rush. I've never gotten a tattoo before, so no need to make it happen anytime soon, am I right? Okay. I'm terrified of getting a tattoo. I don't want to get one because I think it's going to hurt badly, and it's also forever. It's going to be a magnifying glass probably on my arm here. Magnifying glass for the true crime. Looking at a dog's paw print, because I have dogs and I love dogs and animals immensely. And then the paw print will be like rainbow colored, because I'm a gay asexual, if you didn't know. Hence the flag. Yeah. The gay flag, some of you haters like to say. Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go away now. Forever. Well, forever until my next video here on YouTube, which will be on Sunday. Today I'm posting this. Friday. Oh, Jesus Christ. Logistics? Why doesn't, who cares? What? Okay. Anyway, I don't know how to say goodbye. I never do. I probably never will find out how to say goodbye to you guys. But anyway, that was not it.